It's that time of the year again, folks. Welcome back to Frog's Frank Reviews. And yes, that is the hockey mask and toy machete I got from Temu a couple of years ago for my Halloween specials. It's time for us to do Halloween specials. And today I thought it'd be good to do a double feature. That's right, we're going to do two movies for the price of one review. Buckle up, folks. We're going straight back to hell in Hellraiser 1 and 2. Joe, you hit the fucking. Sorry about that, folks. Apparently, Joe is actually working on the camera today and also doing some editing. I'm going to kick his ass later. And yes, I am growing a goatee again because I'm invited to a Halloween party. And I'm going to show up as Jesse Stone this time around. And I did that last year too, so I figured, you know what? What the hell? It's a pretty decent costume. I could do a pretty decent Jesse Stone. Yeah, just let my hair grow. Yeah, just let my hair grow out just a little bit more. Grow the goatee a bit. Get myself the right shirt and I got a prop badge and a toy gun, and that's it. That's my costume. Although I had a crazy idea, I should probably dress up as Pinhead one of these days. So hey, what the hell? Am I right? Speaking of hell, it's time to talk about the first Hellraiser film. Now, what comes down to this franchise, this is actually there's only two films within the 1980s so far. So yeah, when it comes down to the major franchises, we're talking about the major horror franchises from the 1980s. Let's talk about them real quick. I mean, we actually have the original Halloween, which of course actually started off in the 70s, and we had several of them coming out in the 1980s, but they were considered somewhat classics. However, the ones from the 1980s, like half of them had were part of a series of films. There was also the Nightmare on Elm Street film series, which of course was actually one of the most popular films. Well, one of the most popular film series at that point in time, because it's Freddy Krueger, it's a slasher genre was going through the roof, and of course he was one of the more popular movie serial killers at that time. And let's not forget, since I live here in New Jersey and I live close by to and I live just a few counties away from the actual location, Friday the 13th. Yeah, Jason Voorhees. The movie I just did last month was the last film in the 1980s franchise of Friday the 13th. Yeah. In fact, all the films in the 1980s, you could tell there's a difference between the films within the 1980s because they all have a 80s like quality to them. Yeah. I mean, Halloween was made in 1980. Halloween 2 was made in 1980. It was made in 1980. The first Halloween took place in 1978. Halloween 2 took place about 2 years later. Then we had Halloween 3, which was its own film uh, in 1983 ish. And we also had the entire Friday the 13th genre, was already three films in. Then we had a fourth film, and we had a fifth. That film series just literally kept on going throughout the entire 1980s, which is ridiculous as all hell. But hey, hey, they almost kept it going for like a whole yearly thing, which is crazy as all, which is crazy. And then we had the Nightmare on Elm Street film series, which revolutionized the horror film industry by giving us Freddy Krueger and also someone making fun of the genre a little bit. But it wouldn't be until until the late 90s, mid late 90s, in 1996, where Scream would come out, and of course, redefining the genre, but not just redefining it, but also bringing it back. That being said, where does Hellraiser come in? Well, Hellraiser was actually released in 1987, and the sequel was released the following year. Both these films are, well, I guess you could say you could watch them both together side by side, because ironically, Hellbound Hellraiser 2 takes place immediately right after the first film. Yeah, because they were both made a year apart. In fact, joking aside, the same cast and crew worked on both films. Except for some of the actors were different. Like, for example, in the sequel, there were they had some different actors come in, so on and so forth. Though, in fact, one of the Cenobites was actually recast because they had a different actress work on it, and of course, some of the villains were different too. And of course, the director actually changed in both movies. But let's talk about Hellraiser real quick. The original story. The movie is based on the original novelization called The Hellbound Heart, written by Clive Barker, who was becoming the new Stephen King at that point in time. And Stephen King even praised him being the next, praised him by saying, "I've seen the future of horror, and his name is Clive Barker." That's a whole lot of respect because Stephen King is well known in horror, suspense, and thrillers. All right, for him to say that, that's something. Oh yeah. And who was actually in charge of directing the first movie? Why, the author himself. Yeah, Clive Barker directed the first movie. Yep, says it right here too on the back. Clive Barker, director. Huh. But there were subtle different. But you ever watch that YouTube channel, like that YouTube show? What's the difference? Yeah, there was a lot of differences between the movie that Clive Barker made for the film adaptation. Oh yeah, like, there was a lot. The biggest change was actually Pinhead himself. Did you know he was actually a woman in the novelization? Yeah, I'm not making that part up. And ironically, not only was he a woman in the novelization, but he had a childlike voice, which is, well, now that I think about it, is really fucking disturbing. I already cracked on like on the Hulu remake of Hellraiser, and I didn't really like it that much. In fact, if I was on the if anything, I probably could have made a better film out of that. If I was under the director's chair, but I'm not going to bitch and moan about it though because studios, studio politics and all that crap. I'm not going to bitch about it anymore. But don't expect me to review that movie anytime soon. Or the last two Hellraiser films that were in this franchise, I did have Doug Bradley in them because, yeah, I'm not reviewing those films at all. Yeah. So let's get started, shall we? The movie basically opens up with of course, our main villain of the movie, Frank Cotton, who is a complete hedonistic sadist and a sexual deviant. And I'm not going to be calling him Frank for this movie from now on because I'm Ferox Frank. Hello, my name is Frank. I mean, I'm fucking offended by this. Fuck you, Clive Barker. You basically ruined my goddamn name, you bastard. Yeah. So anyway, from this point on, I'm just going to call him Chad. Yeah. Why? Because it's my fucking show. That's why. Anyway, Chad basically goes to Morocco and buys a puzzle box that will give him the ultimate sensations of pleasure. Because he's already gone through so many of the earthly pleasures, he wants to go further. So, and of course, he takes it back to his home. And where the movie takes place, I have no fucking idea. I mean, clearly the movie takes place in the United States, we just don't know where. I've heard some rumors saying it takes place in New York someplace, or somewhere in Connecticut, Vermont. Shit, I don't know. I honestly don't fucking know. It could take place in Boston for all I care. But of course, Chad actually gets the puzzle box from Morocco. So anyway, Chad decides to hold a little ritual and try to open the box. And hooks him out of the box and sink into his body and rip him to pieces. Yeah, there's your ultimate pleasure, you sick bastard. I'm kidding, of course. That's not what really happens. What actually happens is that the hooks come out and actually sink into his body, and then we cut to, well, chains all over the room, and a torture board just rolling around, and we see the whole room is covered in guts and body parts and guts, which is Chad's body. So yeah, it was torn to pieces, and we see the Cenobites. We even see Pinhead himself actually picking up the box and closing it by Okay, yeah, the top of the box actually has that little circle thing. All he does is basically just takes his finger, holds it, and it just closes on its own. Seriously, I mean, even I saw somebody who watched this movie who wasn't a fan realize how to open the box. Oh, I know how to open the box. I'm not a fan. How? Give me the box on the circle and just hit the smaller one on the bottom. There you go. And it just opens itself. Lovely. So some time passes, and Chad's brother Larry comes in along with his wife Julia, and of course, and they decide to move in and actually make the place their own. And Julia and Chad, and of course, they realize Chad's been there before. And Julia is rather intrigued because she actually had an affair with Chad a week before her wedding with Larry. God, that's all fucked up. How is fucked up is it? Well, I'll put it this way. If you read the novelization version, you know how messed up it is. Let's just say that the affair was borderline rape. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say. Other than that, you have to read the novelization for yourself. And so she kind of misses him and wants to rekindle that romance, but it looks like they just missed him. So anyway, we get a call from Kirsty. Yes, fan favorite Kirsty. She actually says that she's actually not going to be there in time, but she'll come by later on. And so they decide to move in, and one of the movers is actually trying. And of course, Larry's helping one of the movers, and of course, Kirsty comes in and actually tries to make tea for everybody. Oh, what a sweet daughter she is! Yes, Kirsty is a sweet daughter. Kirsty is Larry's daughter from his previous marriage, and of course, Julia is her stepmother. I say that out of the way. However, they have a bit of an accident. Larry's hand gets cut up pretty badly, and he starts bleeding like crazy, and he's a little nauseous to blood, which is extremely weird considering the fact that the actor who's playing him is actually the actor is the original stepfather. Yeah, remember the movie? Remember the horror classic, The Stepfather? Yeah, same actor. And here's another fun fact too: he's also the serial killer from the first Dirty Harry film. Yeah, he's Scorpio. Yeah, I haven't reviewed those movies yet, but he played a sadistic killer in those movies too. Lee Winston was making that part up. He also plays a Kardashian. He's also good at playing a Kardashian alien in Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and it's actually one of his best roles, which is a little weird, but hey, he's a good actor. Give him that much. So Larry comes into the room where Julia is, which is the exact room Chad actually died in. And of course, he bleeds all over the floor. But the strange thing is, the blood gets soaked up into the floor. So they take him to the hospital, and he gets medical treatment and mostly stitches. Where we see where most of the film's budget went to, which is we see a corpse come out of the floor, literally just reorganizing itself right there in the spot. And it's a like something you see on like something out of a David Cronenberg film. It is grossly disgusting. And here's the thing: it's growing itself back. It's not melting; it's growing back. So yeah, and we see a corpse just rise, and when it's done, oozing its way back together, it screams its lungs out like. "Rah!" Bit of a fun fact, though. I think I know how this effect was obviously done. Clearly, the special effects department really had a ball with this thing, and what they did was they actually made the sculpture of the corpse itself out of wax, and just shot the thing melting and shot the thing melting. Yeah, that's what they did. They shot the thing melting, and they decided to play the footage in reverse, which is a pretty neat trick. It's a very old trick, but hey, if it works, it works. Eventually, Julia goes right back to the room, and she discovers the corpse there. It's a living corpse, but but he closes the door. It's like, help me! Don't look at me! I said, don't look at me! Who are you? Hey, who are you? It's me, Chad. Man, I thought your name was Frank. This is an edited film. This is a movie review. The guy who's reviewing doesn't even like my name. No, I don't like your name because it's my name, and you're an asshole who deserves to be fucking tortured for all eternity. You sack of shit. So yeah, it turns out the corpse is Chad. He has been brought back to life because of the blood. And yes, in the novelization, it was a little bit more different. I am not going to explain what the novelization version because I don't want because I don't want my video demonetized here. I mean, yeah, I showed some like R-rated shit on my channel before on in my films, but yeah, I'm not going to show. Yeah, I'm not even going to explain it. Let's just say it's beyond X-rated graphic. Anyway, Julia is disgusted by it though, and eventually she leaves the room. But she comes back later on and says she'll want because of the fact she misses being with Chad, and she's not really satisfied with Larry. But so she decides to actually help out Chad to get back his body to get his body back, which of course involves her bringing unsuspecting men to that room where she beats them down and Chad just absorbs the bodies, turning them into withered corpses. Yeah, the whole majority of the movie is basically just it's just her doing all that shit. Yeah, just bring a victim to the house, beat him with a hammer, toss him in the room. It's like, here you go, have fun. Body comes to him, absorbs all the juices and shit, and just leaves a withered corpse behind. It's fucking disgusting, but that's the entire process of the entire movie. Yeah. And eventually, Kirsty feels that there's something wrong, and even like Larry feels that there's definitely something wrong there too. But over time, Chad's body starts to regenerate more and more, and he looks more like a skinned corpse you saw from the Predator films, from the first Predator film. And wait a minute, the first Predator film came out around the same point this film came out. Unique timing, I guess. So either way, so yeah, they continue doing that same spiel. But at some point, Chad tells him, "Look, I need to regenerate fast. They'll be coming after me soon." Ooh, the Cenobites. Basically, Chad later explains everything what happened to him. Basically, he went to Morocco to actually to delve into the further pleasures that's beyond that of man's comprehension. So he found out about the Le Mans configuration, aka the Hellraiser puzzle box, and it's been told that it can give you great pleasures beyond expectations. And it did in pain. Unbelievable pain, where your pleasure sensor just popped and it was registering nothing but pain. So yeah, you dumb shit. And yeah, eventually, because of what happened, they destroyed his body, killed him, and sent him straight to hell. Where of course he's now in his own personal hell loop until Larry's accident and where he grew back. So eventually, Uh, Kirsty gets a little freaked out, but is actually wondering what is actually a little bit concerned because her father Larry basically told her that he's very much concerned about her. Especially the one time they tried to be intimate, but it turns out it wasn't intimacy at all. She was trying to make sure Larry didn't spot Chad at one point. Oh, great. There's also something else that's wrong with Kirsty as well. Christy's been having nightmares about her father, and her boyfriend happens to notice there's actually something wrong too. But one thing that is true is that there's a vagrant going around stalking Christie. Yeah, there's a homeless vagrant going around stalking Christie who wasn't even in the novelization. He's just there for some reason. It's like an extra added level of creepiness. In fact, Christie is actually working in a pet shop. The guy walks right in, goes right to the insect exhibit, and starts picking out grasshoppers and eating them right there on the spot. And I think the actor was really into it though, because I think he actually ate real grasshoppers too, because there's no way you could have faked that shit. It's gross. One day, Kirsten decides to follow Julia, and she sees that Julia brings a man to the house. And of course, she overhears some really terrible things, and well, she assumed that Julia was sleeping with them, but it turns out it wasn't that at all because she sees the guy coming out all bloodied and stuff, and sees Frank's butt and sees Chad come out. Sorry, I kind of messed up there. Said Frank, said Chad. I'm going to continue calling him Chad at this point on because, like I said, my name is Frank, and I don't want my name associated with this fucking sack of shit. So yeah, eventually Chad comes out and actually absorbs the guy's body even further, turning him into a withered corpse right in front of Kirsty. Hey, Christy, it's me. It's Uncle Chad. Come here. Come to daddy. Come to daddy. It's like, okay, what the fuck, bro? I should also mention there's been like a rumor going around that's saying that Chad may have actually touched Kirsty at a younger age when she was younger. Like, I don't know, when she was yeah, this is how much of a creep Chad is. Right? Hence why I didn't want to say my name. Huh? Because I feel just dirty to still have to say my name and being involved with this. So yeah, you can kind of see that this is kind of a huge problem. Hey, this is just a big ass SVU case just waiting to happen. Huh. So yeah, eventually she actually grabs the puzzle box, tosses it out the window, which freaks Chad out. She runs out, grabs the puzzle box, and well, starts wandering around and just collapses and she's sent to the hospital. Hmm. But her boyfriend actually, whose name is Rick, by the way, actually took her to the hospital to make sure she was okay. And eventually she discovered, and of course, she told the story to some doctors, and they didn't believe her. They thought she was probably on something. So, because she's clearly out of it, but she's distressed, all right. So, anyway, one of the doctors hands her back the puzzle box, and she's intrigued by it. So she decides to like tinker around with it. Toss her fingers around it, don't just get a feel of the whole thing, and she solves the puzzle real quick. And of course, a gateway opens up right by her room, where we see some type of fucking demonic creature, which is like a weird effect. Has its head right there on the bottom with two arms going, and a big mouth going. And on the top portion, you can see that there's clearly two hands holding it up, though. But if you look close, but if you pause the movie just right, you can see it's a unicycle effect, where some guy was actually just riding a unicycle, just trying to, and he was holding the wall to make sure he didn't tip over. So that's how the effect was done. Brutally stupid, but hey, what else is new? So yeah, Kirsty gets out of there, but something else happens. The Cenobites finally show up. We're an hour in, and they finally fucking show up. After seeing some clips of them in flashback. But yeah, we see the Chatterers show up, which of course is Pinhead's enforcer. We see the female Cenobite show up, which is a bald female with her neck split open, and we see the fat one, Butterball, and that's his name. It's Butterball. Just go along with it, all right. And what's Chatterer? Well, he's an enforcer, and he just that's all he does. Right, his eyes are squinted closed, and he's got razor wire right here by his mouth to give him a real nasty grin. So yeah, and of course the Hell Priest himself, Pinhead, shows up, and he says, "You opened the box, we came." So yeah, they're gonna take her into hell this time around. Kirsty completely resists, and Pinhead just goes on with his little speech saying that they've done this for a long time. That they are angels to some, they are devils to some, angels to others. And if you know anything about the actual gospel on what angels really are supposed to look like, then yeah, I can kind of see how the Cenobites will fit into that mythology. I'm not making this part up. Looking at the Catholic mythology on what angels are supposed to look like, it's really fucked up. They look more like fucking monsters. Hey, I guess the prophecy was on to something there. However, Kirsty is very curious. She asks the Pinhead if they've done this before. And he says, yes, many times. It's like he's enjoying saying the role, too. Clearly, Doug Bradley was really having fun with the role. And then Kirsty just gets the idea, wait a minute, did you do this to my uncle, Chad Cotton? What's his name, Frank? Dude, this is a review, and the reviewer's name is Frank, so he doesn't want his name associated with that sick fuck. Oh, okay. What's it? Oh, okay. Yes, we have done. Ah, Chad Cotton was your uncle. Yes, we had done this to him a few months ago. It was such a pleasure to rip him to pieces. Basically, she tells them that he had escaped. They don't exactly believe her, but she makes a deal telling him that she could take them straight to him. And of course, Pinhead makes a bargain with her, saying if she can bring them to him, they'll let her go. But if she tricks them, they will tear her soul apart. Me, works for me. So, back at the house, Chad is actually worried that Christy may actually open the puzzle box and actually find out about the Cenobites. But he's still a skinless corpse. So what does he want? He wants a new skin. And Julia says, well, "I can't bring another person over this late. My brother will be home soon." No, no, no! What the fuck? So yeah, eventually she brings Larry. She brings Larry upstairs, and we don't see the act actually happen, but it's clear to say that well, we see a body come down with skin and makes love to Julia afterwards, and we see that it's actually Larry. However, he's actually semi-strange, and there's like a lot of liquid residue around like the back of his area, around the back of his body, which is disgusting. So, of course, Christy tells them about Chad, and he says, "Oh, Chad, you don't have to worry about him. He's gone." So Julia takes her upstairs, and we see a skinned corpse on the floor. And yeah, you can pretty much assume who that really is. Kirsty thinks it's actually Chad, but yeah, the Cenobites show up. They see the body, and they can clearly tell that this was not who did this. Pinhead walks up to her and he goes, "We want the man who did this." But you can clearly tell from his facial features that he's fucking pissed. He knows that Chad did this. So she leaves the room. So she leaves the room immediately and actually tries to get tries to get her father out of the house until he says, "Come to daddy." And it just and the bells in her head start ringing. It's like that's not her father; it's her uncle. So yeah, that skin body up there is actually her father, and her uncle is right there. This is all kinds of fucked up. This is all kinds of fucked up. Anyways, so Julia actually grabs Kirsty, and Chad takes out his trusty little switchblade and stabs Julia, and absorbs her, and absorbs half of her body, half of her essence, so that way he can stay whole. And he goes, "Nothing personal, baby, just pleasure." And he goes after Kirsty because he wants Kirsty badly. Julia is just basically crawling up to is basically crawling, and she makes it back to the bedroom, and she lies on the bed, and she's holding the puzzle box. Uh-oh. So anyway, they make it back up upstairs to the room. Christy finds more corpses. She makes it back to the room itself, and she comes to the realization she's lying there next to the skinned body, and she goes, "That's definitely her father." And she's in all tears. It's like, "Oh, don't worry. My brother didn't feel a thing. Come on now. Don't be so man. Uncle Chad is here." And what the hell is all that? Yeah. The room starts to flicker with the lights, and the Cenobites reappear. And of course, Pinhead is like, "Yeah, Chad." So yeah, he's basically fucked. They needed to hear the fact that it was actually him the whole time. That's really him. So yeah, Chad freaks out. He's about to attack Kirsty, but Pinhead stops him by getting all of his chains and sticking it all into the skin he just got, and actually starts to pull the skin out. Yeah, he's basically like literally all crucified with all the chains and everything. And he goes, "Ugh, Jesus wept." So, yeah, you can, yeah, knock it off, pal. We definitely know dude, you have a giant hook right up your fucking ass, and it's actually giving you a nasty ass rim job. It's going full 360 up there. You can stop it now, all right? And oh, for fuck's sake, you can just rip them to pieces already. And so they do. Pinhead tells Christine to leave because she shouldn't really see this. And oh boy, yeah, they just rip his body to pieces and it explodes. So to be fair, he had it coming. So anyway, a lot of bad things are happening around the house, and she decides to leave. But the female Cenobite stops her by the stairs because now they want her. She makes it back to the bedroom where she sees Julia is now on the bed. Her body is covered in chains because she opened the puzzle box. So she grabs the puzzle box because she was holding the puzzle box. So Kirsty grabs the puzzle box, tries to work on it real quick. The Pinhead shows up right behind her and goes, "Please, we have such sights to show you." and she basically reactivates the puzzle box to make it, trying to close it. He basically yells at her, "No, don't do that. Go to hell!" Beep. He gets absorbed back to the puzzle box. The female's right behind her. Beep. Goes right back into the puzzle box. She makes it out in the hallway. We see Chatterer puts on the wedding veil. I don't know why he did that. I think he was just trying to be an asshole or trying to be creepy as hell. Dude, we already had Chad. This is not helping. All right, just take it off. Thank you. Chatterer's about to grab her, and then beep, he gets absorbed into the box. Kirsty's boyfriend Ricky actually makes it into the building, and Butterball is literally right behind him. So Butterball takes his sunglasses off. I don't even know why he even had sunglasses on to begin with. It was kind of weird. I guess it was like a weird S&M thing. Anyway, Butterball's about to attack Rick until part of the structure collapses on him. Yeah. Dude, what the fuck? It's like, Chris, you want to hit the little, give me the box. You're welcome, Butterball. Here you go. God. So she makes it back down to the entrance of the house, where, of course, everything just stops the second they open the door, until the demon she met at the hospital shows up again and tries to stop her from closing the box. So she grabs it, does the sequence one more time, and the creature gets absorbed into the box. And gets absorbed into the box, and they just up and leave. There was a bit of a confusion saying that the building actually burned down, but it actually didn't burn down. Nobody knows what exactly happened to it though until the second film. Anyway, they make it to a field where where there's some fire pits everywhere. Christy tossed the box into a fire, and the homeless vagrant that's been following her throughout the whole movie shows up again. This time he gets engulfed. He goes into the fire, grabs the box, gets engulfed in flames, and he's a skeleton demon, a skeleton dragon demon with wings, and he flies away with the puzzle box, going all the way back to the beginning of the movie in Morocco, where the same trader with a different person goes, "What's your pleasure, sir?" And that's the movie. I'm not gonna lie, I think the book's ending was a lot better. Yeah, the book's ending was a lot different due to the fact that the Cenobites actually take Chad back to hell, and this time they take Julie along with her with them as well. And yeah, the same outcome actually did happen, but the difference is that the Cenobites actually give Christy the puzzle box, and they actually go back to hell because the fact they actually made a bargain and they kept their end. She kept her end of it, so they kept their end. And the book basically ends with the fact that she can see the glimpse of Chad and Julia's faces within the reflective parts, but she doesn't see her father. Give her some glimmer of hope that her father may still be maybe somewhere else. And oh yeah, I should actually mention that Larry in the book was originally called Rory, and Rory and Kirsty were not exactly related. They were actually best friends for a long time. So yeah, there's that. Now, hey, that's Hellraiser for you. Is it a good movie? Yeah, it's pretty good. Now, tune in next time, which will be less than a minute. We'll take a look at the sequel. Now, if you excuse me, I'm going to go take a shit. Well, we're back. And we're going to do the second Hellraiser film. That's right, we're going to talk about Hellbound, the Hellraiser 2, which has Chuck Norris on the cover. This is not Hellraiser 2. I am so sorry, folks. Wow, this is a screw up on my part. Okay, here it is. Hellbound, Hellraiser 2, not to be confused with the 1993 film that Chuck Norris stars in, Hellbound. You know what? Next time. So, let's begin, shall we? Hellbound to Hellraiser 2 immediately picks up right after the first film. So, because of the fact they were both being made a year apart and the same crew worked on it too, so it's like they were both being made simultaneously. So, yeah, clearly, it's a direct sequel. And the movie begins in 1920s Africa, where we see Elliot, a British commander by the name of Elliot Spencer, played by Doug Bradley, who has the puzzle box, opens it, and chains come out and turn him into Pinhead. So this is clearly Pinhead's origins, Pinhead's birth. And the messed up thing is we don't even know his name is Elliot Spencer until the third film. So yeah, there's that little issue problem. Anyway, Julia is dead. Kirsty is now in a mental hospital for the criminally insane. Well, okay, not the criminally insane, just for mental purposes, because they think she's completely crazy. And of course, the police have been going all over the fucking house, and they find nothing but corpses everywhere, trying to corpses and the bed that Julia died on. And so the police detective that's actually with Christie actually tells them to bring it downtown. Well, okay, fine, that's. But the thing is, Kirsty realized that because of the fact that her girl Chad came back because of blood, if anybody gets any blood on that thing, the same is going to happen, and Julia will come back. So, so this should be fun. Fuck. We're introduced to the character of Dr. Chenard with his assistant, Kevin. Dr. Chenard is actually doing some brain searching on a patient and actually is called away to actually help deal with Kirsty because Kirsty has a bit of a freak out when the detective says they're not going to destroy the mattress because it's evidence. Yeah, bit of a shocker there. However, Chenard tells her that she's in the best of care, but there's something going on with Chenard. Anyway, afterwards, after he's done with Kirsty, he gets down to the basement level where it says maintenance, but it's actually the intensive psych ward. So yeah, we're seeing that the fact there's a ton of mentally crazed patients that are just beyond any form of help. But these are the type of patients that, yeah, these patients have like no hope whatsoever. Yeah, we also find out that Chenard is also a bit of is a bit of a heathenist himself, and actually has been looking into this whole thing with the Lamont configuration, and into the Hell Priest, and into the Hell Priest. And yes, I should also mention that Pinhead is called the Hell Priest in the media, supposedly, or priest, because he hates being called Pinhead. That's just that's literally his dubbed name that the fans call him, but he hates that name. So, in derogatory terms, he's either going to be the Pale One, the lead Cenobite, the or the Hell Priest. I personally like the name Hell Priest a lot better because it sounds like a badass name. I mean, hey, seriously, it's a badass name. But Hellraiser's Hell Priest. Yeah. Hence why I usually call him Hell Priest sometimes. Cool. Cool. Good. Good. Anyway, Kevin actually tries to go to Chenard's office, but he overhears the fact that Chenard wants Julia's mattress actually at his house. And while Kevin's a little bit weirded out by this whole thing, why the hell does he want the mattress at his house? Eventually, Kevin goes to Chenard's house and he sees that the mattress has been delivered there, and he sees a bunch of all the memorabilia of Hellraiser, of all the stuff that leads up to the Lamont configuration. He has a couple of boxes of the Hellraiser puzzle box, but he even actually has the main one. How? My guess is he was the guy that was in the end of the first movie that actually bought the Lamont configuration from the merchant. Again, that's the explanation I can figure out. So there's that. And eventually he brings one of the more mentally disturbed patients. And Kevin is actually hiding behind one of the curtains as he's watching all this. So he gives one of the more mentally crazed patient a razor blade because in his mind he can see nothing but bugs all over him. So what does Chenard do? Gives him a razor. It's like, here, get them off. Basically, the patient keeps saying, "Get them off! I can't stand it! Get them off!" And you clearly see the makeup effects did a hell of a job on this guy because there's scar marks all over his body. So what does Chenard do? He gives him a razor. Have fun. Cut them off yourself. And the guy just cuts himself like crazy, just bleeds all over the mattress. And so we see a skinless corpse come out and actually attack the body and absorb all of its life energy and juices. Kevin sees it, freaks out, and runs the fuck away. But they don't see it. The corpse is obviously Julia, and of course, Shenard is not exactly fully phased by it, though, because he's expected this, and he wants this. He's been wanting to know the discoveries of pleasure and flesh because of his research in the medical field. He believes that there's something he could do within the medical field looking at all this stuff. But in my personal opinion, he's and he should be a patient himself. Hell, even the Joker from the Batman series can look at this guy like, "Hoo-hoo," and they call me fucking crazy. They call me crazy. Doctor, you're fucking nuts. In fact, I have a pill for you. It's in my gun here. Just saying. Oh, come on. You can see the Joker doing that. And eventually, Chenard and Julia start to get along, and they talk and banter a bit, though. And he tells her that he's looking for more. He's looking for more. That he wants more out of everything. So, yeah, he wants more. He wants more research into the pleasure sensors of anything else. But he's not doing it for research. But he's mostly doing it for research purposes because he wants to know more. It's his knowledge. It's in his ego to actually want more knowledge. And eventually, Julia agrees to do it. But if Chenard helps her out, and what does he do? He gives her like eight patients, one of which happens to be a topless woman because we've seen Julia's naked body in the skinless form. Good lord! And she basically absorbs all those bodies. Kevin eventually goes back to Christy, tells her that he actually believes her. He saw Julia, and they have to get to the house and actually get the box. But before that, Kirsty is actually introduced to a new character named Tiffany, who is actually well, mentally shut down because of the fact she lost her mother, because nobody can find her, and she's really into puzzles. Yeah, I think you know where this is going to be going, right? So, eventually, Julia. Julia actually discovers that Kirsty and Kevin come back to the house. She gets Kevin alone, and she's not fully healed at 100%. We've seen her body back, but we get a look at her backside. It's wide open, so you can see the skinless portion of her body. So she basically gives him a kiss of death and absorbs all of his life juices. Uh, Kirsty comes in and Julie says she's no longer the wicked stepmother. She's the evil queen. And if it looks like that Julia was originally supposed to be built up as the main villain for the rest of the series, originally Clive Barker wanted to do that, but unfortunately the fans said no, they want Pinhead. So yeah, bit of a weird concept there because hey, he's on the advertisement, use him as the main villain, even though he's not really the villain. Seriously, Pinhead wasn't really the villain in the first film. He's not really the villain in this one either, which is weird. Anyway, Christy gets knocked out by Julia, and Chenard comes in with Tiffany. And they give her the box. They hide in a secret room with a one-way mirror, and she does solve the puzzle box and opens the gates to the hell that he wants to go to, which is a hell dimension. The Cenobites come out this time around, and yes, it's the same Cenobites from the last movie, played by the same actors, except for the female Cenobite, who's played by a different actress this time around. And apparently, behind the scenes, she actually got along with everybody. She was a wild personality, and she was just a lively actress. Even when she was in the makeup, when the director yelled out "cut," she was like, "Oh my god, this is really something, hey guys!" But when it's like, "Okay, ready, action," this is her on camera, off camera. Oh my god, guys! Hey, who wants to get a couple of beers? Come on, let's go. Seriously. You know what? I want to see all the behind the scene features of all this stuff when they just when they roll cut and we just see them break character. Oh, okay. You want to know what Doug Bradley did when they actually cut? He actually goes outside and actually tosses a football around. It's hilarious. Just imagine that you go out, you're actually just running around the Hollywood backline. You see Pinhead, the Hellraiser himself, in full costume and makeup, chucking a football around. I was like, no, go back further. I'm sorry, it's just too fucking. Knowing that information, it's just too fucking funny. Oh, but I've actually seen some features where he's actually done that. Oh my god. Oh, okay. Anyway, the Cinnabites are about to actually, well, about to gut Tiffany until Pinhead shows up and he goes, "Wait, no, no, no. It is not hands that call us, but desire." And he's looking in the direction where Julia and Chenard have it be, but they already went into hell. So they decide to go back in and go back to hell themselves. Tiffany decides goes into hell with them. And eventually Kirsty wakes up and finds the puzzle box, grabs it, and goes back down to hell because when she was in the hospital, there was somebody from hell actually giving her messages telling her, "I'm in hell, help me." And she believes it's her father. Uh, oh, god damn. Uh, oh, dear. So she goes wandering around hell and she meets up with the gang again. It's like, "Oh, Kirsty, it's nice to see you again." So yeah, they really want to actually, get to know Julie, get to know Kirsty, all that shit. However, Christy's ever so defiant and basically just tells them that it wasn't her. They just get a huge laugh out of it, and she's there for her father. They get a huge laugh out of it, though. So, so, so and she tells them to go to hell, but they're already in hell. So she runs away, and Pinhead says, "But there's nowhere to run, child. You're already in hell." By all means, have fun. We got an eternity to know your flesh. He basically it's kind of weird because Pinhead actually just throws the chain right in front of her, telling her she can't go, but he says, "By all means, have fun searching." And he pulls the chain back. It's like, dude, what the fuck? Seriously. So Kirsty starts looking around, and we see that Tiffany is going through her variations of hell. We actually saw a version of Julia's hell, and now we're seeing something from Tiffany's hell. Well, so yeah, everybody's got a different variation of their own hell. Kirsty's hell is at the fact that she's been a shut-in, and apparently something happened to her mother. Now, apparently not many people realize this, but I think I kind of figured out what it was when I first saw the film, and I just clicked it immediately. I'll tell you about it a little bit later. Julia and Shannon actually reach the center of the hell dimension, and they meet, which is a massive map painting, by the way. Dude, seriously, it's like something I've seen in my dreams. It's like fucking insane. It's nothing more but a pure labyrinth of mazes and monsters. Hmm. No offense to the D&D game about that, but we see a giant crystallized thing called thing called the Leviathan, which of course is the god of that universe. So we now see Leviathan's hell, and Leviathan is the devil god that's in the center of all of it. Yeah, go figure. Yeah, it's a little weird. Anyway, Julia actually tells her that Leviathan sent her to go get some more souls. However, apparently that's not what really happened. Because actually leaving it is not exactly what. It's a bit of a confusing mess with the dialogue. But eventually, basically, a giant container comes up, and Gennard is being pushed into it, though, by Julia, where he's being tortured and mutilated. And that's the last we see of him. And then eventually, Tiffany is actually encountered by Christy. They try to leave the dimension of hell, but they find Kirsty's old house, find Larry's house door, so they go in. So Kirsty goes in there, leaving Tiffany outside the door. But it's a little weird because it doesn't look like her father's hell. Nope, it's Uncle Chad's hell. Yep. It turns out he was the one who sent for Christy because he wanted to be with her. He wants to fuck her. Dude, it's your niece. What the fuck? It's your own fuss. You're a one sick fuck. You know that? So, God. So you know what Kirsty does? She actually burns down his photo and the mirrors, and he loses his skin. Yeah. So he actually has his skin back, and then he loses it by getting it melted away. You know what? I'm just gonna do Nelson's laugh real quick. or fuck you. So Julia finally comes in, and well, Chad tries to pull the charm again. However, since he's the reason why she's in hell to begin with, she actually goes down to him and rips his fucking heart out, destroying him. I I thought that was kind of weird, but yeah, apparently he's actually dead in this one now. He's dead. He's never coming back in any of the future sequels. Like, period. Although there was some relevance of his soul in one of the films, so I'm not gonna get into that one until later. Oh, so eventually, so yeah. I should also mention too that when Christy actually met up with Cenobite, she tried to actually work the puzzle box, but they're already in hell to begin with. So Pinhead uses his hell powers and turns it into a giant crystal, into a giant vortex crystal that looks like Leviathan. So yeah, she's been holding that thing around. Eventually, she dropped it, and of course, her and Tiffany run. They almost get sucked into a vortex at some point. Julia actually meets up with them and actually taunts Kirsty even more until eventually Kirsty pulls Julia in. But then Tiffany sees the puzzle box in its crystalline form and tries to grabs on to Julia's arm, and of course Tiffany gets grabbed by Christy. She pulls Tiffany, and unfortunately the vortex is actually too powerful, and Julia gets ripped out of her skin, and her skinless body goes into the vortex, destroying her body completely. Hey, Clive Barker wanted to use her as the main villain in the future films. Guess what? The fans said, "Kill her off." So he obliged. Thank you. So they just leave the Julia's skin on the floor, and well, they actually wind up leaving. But guess what happens to Chenard? He comes out of the torture box as now a Cenobite. And to think, I hesitated. He's now known as the Chenard Cenobite, or in this case, the Surgeon Cenobite, which is a very disturbing looking design. And a giant tentacle-like creature comes out, it's a giant dick. Okay, the production team called it a giant dick. It's a giant dick. Can't believe I'm saying that. So yeah, so anyway, claws come out of it and actually embed itself into Chenard's head. Now he's actually in full control. And apparently, apparently Leviathan kind of liked what the hell was going on, so now he's actually got full power control over the entire dimension, which is really fucked up. And of course, it's against everything that well happened. Okay, let me explain something here. Pinhead is also known as the main general of Hell in Leviathan's Hell for a reason. Wanna know why? In the fourth movie, when I reviewed it, Pinhead actually made a statement saying that hell has been more ordered since your time, Princess, when he sees Angelique for the first time after countless millennia. But here's a bit of a fun fact. Hell was very chaotic when Pinhead showed up. So what did he do? He brought order to it. Yeah, this motherfucker brought order to hell. And there's even a comic series that shows what he did, and it's beyond brutal. So yeah, this is somebody you don't fuck with. Apparently, Leviathan made a huge mistake at this point and actually turning Snard into a fucking Cenobite. But oh yeah, it's gonna get worse eventually. Way worse. Eventually, Kirsty and Tiffany actually leave and make it to the hospital. How that was even a thing because they were actually at the Chenard's house and not the hospital, it makes no fucking sense. I don't know. But here's something but the next scenes I'm going to talk about are actually deleted scenes that the fans suggest have actually screamed at the director they should have been in the movie because it makes sense. And also what happened with Chatterer later. What happens to Chatterer later? Here's what happens. They actually make their way into the hospital, and they actually make it to the subsection where all the psychos are. And there's two orderlies in full in full doctor gowns, actually saying, "Who is your doctor? You should not be down here." It's like, wait a minute, what the hell? What are these two? Wait a minute, I know those eyes. There's a scene. There were some scenes missing, but eventually they reveal themselves as Pinhead and the female, and they start going after them. They make their way into the. They make their way. Tiffany and Kirsty make their way into in the elevator, close the door on them, make their way up, and Chatterer is actually on the next floor with his eyes wide open this time around, and this wiring actually removes from his mouth, going ah! And he's about to tackle. He's about to attack them. He tackles the wall by accident, and they close the door on him, and his fingers get cut off. Yeah. All right, that's actually a deleted scene, but honestly, looking at that deleted scene compared to what happens later on, it makes a lot of sense why that scene should have stayed in the movie. Because it just proves that they're not actually that Pinhead. If they didn't close the door, hell, they still have access to hell, and they can come in and out, and the Cenobites can come in and out as they please. So eventually, they make it to the patient ward where all the good patients are, and and they have their own version of the hell of the puzzle box with chains coming out and actually touching their face. But Chenard comes in and it's this full Cenobite form, and it's like, I'm the doctor here, and I prescribe amputation. And here's the thing, he with that freaking long ass dick, actually holding onto his fucking head, he's basically hovering around like this. I'm the doctor. I really don't like this character. Yeah, it's fucking stupid. He's the main villain this time around. I mean, first time it was Chad, now it's this shit. Fuck. And eventually, Tiffany does break her silence and actually says, "Oh shit." Yes, he finally talks this time around. They actually, eventually, Tiffany and Christy actually make their way to to a hospital room, which is actually where Pinhead and the other Cenobites are. And this is where we see Chatterer's face is actually, we see Chatterer's new design face. And like I said, with the deleted scene, it should have been in the movie. But then again, I digress. Ugh. I should mention earlier before Christy met Julie earlier in the movie, she actually came across some research papers and actually has a picture of Elliot Spencer, who Pinhead used to be. She actually took the picture and kept it with her this whole time, and they said, "Well, Julie, it's time to play," and they really want to, get to know her flesh this time around. However, Julia stops. Sorry, Christy stops them and asks them. She wants that question answered. Well, and of course, Pinhead actually wanting to oblige. He says, "Fine, but trick us again, and your suffering will be legendary even in hell." And so, what does she do? She takes the photograph and hands it to Pinhead. He takes it, looking at it, it's like, "Who's this? Another person who escaped, like your Uncle Chad?" It's like, "No, it's you." So nonsense. We've been here since the dawn of time. Yeah. So basically, Chrissy just yells at him, telling him that it's actually him. So he's a little bit more. So Pinhead looks at the photo and he's completely confused. But as he's looking at it, he starts to feel something is wrong, and he knows the guy in the photo. And of course, female actually instructs Butterball and Chatterer to get ready to attack, and so they can actually get to know their flesh. Pinhead finally snaps out of it, and he goes, "Wait, she's right. I remember. This is me. I was human." Well, he doesn't exactly say that, but he says he remembers, which actually starts to trigger back his memory that yes, he used to be human. So, and eventually, female, of course, apparently there's another deleted scene where female also remembers as well. And Butterer actually snaps out of his trance too. He goes, as he also remembers. Chatterer, for the first time in supposedly another deleted scene, goes, I, I remember. I remember. So, yeah, they all remember they used to be human at some point, which is a shocking revelation to them. Anyway, Chenard shows up claiming that he's taking over, and he wants the girls. However, Pinhead and the other Cenobites actually try to attack him. Pinhead tossing all of the chains at him, but Chenard cuts them all off using his tentacles that pop out of his hand, which is all done with via stop motion. But you know what? The effect works in this movie pretty well. Yeah. Hey, if it works, it works. So the first Cenobite that actually gets killed off is female. But here's the thing: once she gets killed and she falls to the ground, she reverts back to her human form, and we see what she was. She was a normal-looking woman. So when Butterball's the next one who gets killed, and he turns into a fat guy who looks like he was mentally just, which I don't know why. It's kind of sad. But the saddest one is actually Chatterer's death. Because when Chatterer gets killed, he gets tossed into one of those pillar things, and it's going around in circles. And here's by far a very dark effect. And people, it just got the fans wondering, what the fuck? We see Chatterer is on the pillar. It goes to Christy and Tiffany, and it goes right back to Chatterer, and we see his human form is a child, a human child. What the fuck happened to this kid? What? Whoa! Dude, that is really fucked up. And what happens to Pinhead? Chenard shoots lasers at him that converts Pinhead back to his human form of Elliot Spencer. Now, yeah, he's basically screwed. Elliot gives Kirsty a look that just that is basically telling her to run. He's giving her that glancing look, telling her that she should run. He basically tries to attack, but he gets his throat slit and he dies. And he bleeds out, dying. That sucks. So yeah, Pinhead dies in this film too. So just to recap real quick, even though the movie's called Hellraiser and Pinhead is clearly the main it's clearly on the covers, he's not the villain in these movies. No, that's the revolutionary part. He's not the villain in this one or this one. And he's called the lead Cenobite in this one, and he's called Pinhead in this one because he was casted that way. Fuck. Yeah. Rest in peace, Pinhead. Rest in peace. A moment of silence. Okay, moment's over. So anyway, Tiffany says that she needs to go back and that have to go back and get the puzzle box. That way she can complete the puzzle and actually close the doors forever. So they make their way back to hell where they find the puzzle box, and this time they go straight to where Leviathan is and actually try to work on the puzzle there. However, Chenard shows up and actually and is about to torture Tiffany. He throws Christy away real quick. Christy just runs away, and then as Chenard is about to about to kill Tiffany, Julius shows up and grabs Tiffany. And he goes, I knew I'd see you again. I didn't. Isn't she supposed to be dead this time? What the fuck? So yeah, he starts making out with her, and it turns out it's actually distracting him because Tiffany actually finishes the puzzle box, completes it, and it closes on him. Chenard actually gets pissed off, and he uses his tentacles to actually shoot at Tiffany, but of course they miss, and well, yeah, now he loses his power completely, and the big dick tentacle thing, actually literally rips his head off. Okay, he doesn't rip his head off. It rips his head in half from the jawline. Yeah. Ho. As a matter of fact, it's actually the highest. It's actually the golden trophy on Dead Meat on Dead Meat's channel. Yeah, nice one. So anyway, Christy. Tiffany actually falls. Julia grabs her arm, but of course the skin comes right off. But of course Tiffany gets grabbed by Julia again. Only this time around, she notices something wrong. The skin underneath is actually not skinless; it's actually human skin. Basically, Julia takes the face off, and it's actually Christy. So she went back to go. So okay, Christy went back to actually get Julia's skin to put it on. That's a little. That's disgusting, but oh, give her some points for creativity. Yeah, nice one, Christy. So they make it out of hell just in time before the gate closes, and of course they actually leave the Chenard Institute. some time passes later, and we see some movers come to Channard's house and actually remove all the stuff that's in the house, compared to since Channard was actually evil. Yeah, there's also something else I forgot to mention too. Apparently, before Tiffany actually worked on the puzzle box, so it turns out Channard actually killed Tiffany's mother and actually used her as one of the test subjects for the open brain experiment. So yeah, that's what actually happened to her. In fact, that patient we saw earlier was actually supposed to be that could have been Tiffany's mother, who became a brain dead patient. Yeah, that's how fucking evil Channard was. Well, you don't have to worry about him. He's fucking dead. Yeah, fuck him. So yeah, and not to mention the government basically repossesses all the stuff compared to all the horrific crimes he had committed, and since all the stuff about the institute came out afterwards, yeah. Also, he killed all of his patients when he turned into a Cenobite. So, yeah, a lot of criminal allegations right there. So, yeah, the institute got shut down for obvious reasons, and all the patients got moved into better institutes. Oh, and get this. One of the movers is actually the same mover that tried to hit on Julia and Kirsty from the first Hellraiser film. He finds the bed from earlier that he actually helped move, and the hand and tentacles come out and actually drag him back in and killing him. Yeah. Well, yeah, so that mover's dead. What the fuck? And guess what happens? The other mover comes in and sees a giant pillar come out that's rotating. One of the pain pillars with all the characters and souls that are on it, though. And the Vagrant's face from the last movie shows up, looks at the guy, and goes, "What's your pleasure, sir?" The end. Oh, what a hellish trip that was. Oh, wow. Seriously, wow. Oh, mama. That is like all kinds of wow. And that was Hellbound Hellraiser 2, part of the Hellraiser duo film series. And it's kind of weird because of the fact of this. Because the rest of the films are sold separately or sold in packs, but when it comes down to the first two, they're sold together, which is weird. Doesn't make any sense. Why is that? Well, here's another bit of a fun fact. If you actually were around during the VHS era, when the films were released on VHS videotape, yeah, they came in on a double VHS. In fact, that's how I was introduced to the franchise by watching the first two films. Go figure, right? So I guess it's a rule by law because of the fact that the first film and the second film are actually connected to each other. They have to be sold together, especially on this double feature DVD, which actually has both films on it. So it's crazy. But anyway, Hellraiser 1 and 2 became instant classics in the horror genre, and it wouldn't be until 1993 when we actually get to see a proper sequel, which is Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth, which I may cover this month or I may not cover. It depends on how far I could go this month. But I should also mention that there was a bit of a problem with Hellraiser 2. You see, the thing is, the first movie was released in September of 1987, while the second one was released just the day before Christmas Eve the following year. No joke. Why? I don't know. I think it had something to do with Halloween 4 coming out that year, too. Yeah, that could have been like one of the big cases of why that was a thing. So Michael Myers made his return, and Hellraiser 2 kind of suffered a little bit because of that. However, it was conceived as an instant horror classic, so that actually helped a lot. So yeah, do I recommend watching these movies? Yeah, but I recommend this: watch them both together. Watch the first one, and then you watch the second one right afterwards. That way, you get the full experience of both the movies. So, in fact, if anything, I could see somebody actually re-editing, edit both the movies together. They're both actually on they're both basically around 90 minutes, like over 90 minutes. Like, what's this? First one's 93 minutes, the second one is 99 minutes. So, all right, just do a little just do a little tinkering around. You can make a movie just under 3 hours, and there you go. So yeah, Hellbound. So yeah, just and Hellbound. There you go. Easy peasy, am I right? But yeah, that may not happen. I'm pretty sure there's a Hellraiser. There's like a Hellbound edit of both the movies. But hey, that's wishful thinking. Oh well. Anyway, that was the Hellraiser. That was actually the first two Hellraiser films. Now I finally got that off my chest. What's the next one we're gonna do? What do you think? I gotta do the other Hellbound movie with Chuck Norris. They want to say a Chuck Norris film, so tune in next time. We'll take a look at Hellbound, starring Chuck Norris. Till then, Felix Frank,